Hey guys, Chris Fayte with Cheat the Game coming back at you. Today we're going to be taking a look at some Lua. We're going to start off very easy and then we're going to get a little harder, or excuse me, a little more advanced as we go in the future. But right now I just want to do something easy to, get your feet wet. Also, there's something that you really need to do. I really recommend it, is go to Stephen Chapman's channel. I got the link for you right there in the description, and he's got a great beginner starting lesson on Lua. I really recommend you go there and just go down and read and follow along with him on that. This lesson will make a whole lot more sense to you after you do that. It's great stuff. I went through it several times, and it really helped me to kind of pick up Lua a lot easier. And I'm still learning Lua myself. I am really in no position to teach anybody any advanced techniques of Lua. I'm still in the process of learning it myself, and I'm just kind of going along with it. But as I've always promised you, I'm very much proud to teach you what I learn as I learn it. And this is something I've learned. It really helps me out a lot. This is what we're going to call auto value writing. Now, we've already done it one time in the Batman Arkham Knight, where we had the special moves always on. We found the specials flag and we were able to keep it on. We had to find the pointer, and the way we did it auto writing is we used a create thread and just have it keep looping until we turned it off. We had that create thread just keep looping over and over and over again, writing our flag value to our pointer to make it keep on. But this time we're going to be using Mad Max. What we're going to be doing is getting infinite car health, and also I'm going to show you a way to auto write to a pointer where it goes down a pointer path, a multi-level pointer. And we're also going to use a symbol that we create to auto write to our value, and that'll be for player health. So stay tuned. I'm going to go ahead and bring everything on up and we'll get started. Okay, while it's loading up, I went ahead and brought my particular cheat table up. I can't even remember what version this is, to be honest with you. And I'm happy to share this table with you. I'll leave the link for that down in the description also. You're welcome to take a look at it. I'm also going to leave a template of the Lua we're going to be using. Excuse me. And you can keep that with you. What I suggest you do is, like in Notepad or Notepad++, is make you what I call a Lua cheat sheet. The kind of commands and things, or the structures or templates that you use most often, keep in there, and that way you've got it and you can bring that up and just copy and paste and change things as necessary. That way you don't have to keep typing these things out. But what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start with our car. I've already found the pointer for it. A lot of you get a little upset with me for not going through and showing you how I'm finding these addresses and values and things like that, but it does take a lot of time to do that. But I'm going to show you how I found the car value, and that way you can repeat the process for your particular version, okay? But I'm not going to go through the entire stage of finding the car value. Usually what I do is I go ahead and start with float values. So let's go ahead and get to I got a special save that I have right here just for this tutorial. I'm actually way further in the game than this right here, but I wanted to start off in a place where we're not being attacked as much. It's right at the beginning of the game. Alright, so you see we're about to get into a fight. So what I want to do, and let me show you my health script first, and then we'll go find the car second. This is injection copies. If you have not seen my video on injection copies, also there's a great tutorial by writeFloat at the Cheat Engine website. He tells you about injection copies, 3 different ways to find your addresses that Cheat Engine can find them. And one way is injection copies, where this is actually only dealing with my player's health, and what I do is I create a symbol, and you can do that by globally allocating the memory, and I just save for 8 bytes for the address, and I'm just having the base address move into my symbol in the global allocated memory. If you use global allocate, you do not have to deallocate, you do not have to register a symbol. It's automatically done for you with global allocate. If you just allocate the memory, then you do have to create the symbol, register symbol and unregister, and deallocate the allocated memory. So you can do it either way. It doesn't really matter. But with global allocate, you do not have to register the symbol, and you don't have to deallocate, and that's what I did here. But it is still registered as a symbol, and we're going to be using this. My normal health value is located at the RBX plus 1C, and that's where we're getting started right now. So what I need it to do is I need to go ahead and turn this code on so that the global allocated spot is put into place. It automatically registers that symbol, and it doesn't really go into effect until I actually take a hit, because it's not constantly reading there. So I need to go ahead and make sure that this finds the pointer first. So let's go ahead and take a hit, and we did. And here is my health address right here. So this is what I want to do. Let me just take a look at it right quick. We see at full value it's at 1000, and when we turn it off, and it goes down like normal. So what I want to do, we can actually do this in the script itself, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to add on to this script. So I'm just going to go down below return, and we're just going to create a Lua script. So we need to tell Cheat Engine that we're going to be using Lua for this, and you do that with the braces, the $, and the word Lua, and it'll put it in Lua mode for everything that goes underneath it. So if you went to Stephen Chapman's page and read up on getting started with Lua and everything, you learned what variables are. Well, we're actually creating a variable. A variable can be anything you want. It's just a name, and we assign something to that name. Well, this particular variable, we're assigning a timer value. Why do we need a timer value? Because we need to put something on that timer so it continuously does something, and it's done on a timer value. What we want it to do is, we know our health is a float, and at full value is at 1000, so we want Cheat Engine to continuously write a float value. Now, yeah, we could do it in assembly, but we're trying to learn Lua right now, okay? So we're going to use Lua to do that. So we want to call our timer something, and I like to call it what it is. I'm just going to call it H timer, health timer, okay? And we have that equal, and what do we want that to equal? We're going to have it equal createTimer. Now make sure your syntaxes are correct, okay? This needs to be capitalized, and go ahead and put parentheses directly after. Now what we need to do is we need to tell Cheat Engine how fast we want it to write this value. How fast do we want this timer to go, basically. Always remember 1000 equals 1 second. So if you put it at just 100, that's like 1/10 of a second. If you put it at 10, it's like 100th of a second, and so forth and so on. You can do the math. So now we have our timer. It creates a timer, and it's going to be called, our timer is going to be called by that name, H timer, okay? So what do we want to do? We want to set interval, making sure all our syntaxes are correct. And how fast do we want that interval to go? I'm going to do it at 100th of a second, which is at 10. So that's pretty fast. I want it to be able to write faster than the game will maybe write to it. So we go on down. Now what do we want to put on this timer? Now, I mean, we can create a timer, but if we don't put something on it, it's just going to be using the timer, but nothing's really going to be happening. We hadn't actually assigned this timer to anything. So that's what we're doing here. We need to assign this timer to a function. So this is what this command is, htimer.onTimer. What do we want to put on that timer? We need to put, and this is basically like another variable, but we're telling it we want to put something on this timer, and we want to put a function. And you can name the function if you want to. I'm going to name it player health. It gets a little confusing, but the more you do these things, it just becomes second nature to you. So you know, you really need to just go in there and experiment, okay? Now what does this function we want to do? What is this function going to do? Well, we need it to write a float value right here, a float value to our player's health, which we've already learned in assembly is at this RBX plus 1C. We've already created a symbol for our RBX value, and we just need to add the 1C to it. So it's moving that RBX base in there, and 1C will be our health offset. So that's what we're going to do, and here's the command for it. writeFloat, just like that, capitalized float. Now if it was a 4 byte, we would put writeInteger, an integer being a whole number and a float being a decimal number. So this is a float value. Now here's how we do this. It gets a little tricky here, so make sure that you get this. What I always do is I go ahead and set up everything I need. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put 2 parentheses, just like that, and then I'm going to stick 2 apostrophes right there in the middle. Kind of looks like a little face without a mouth. Okay? And what do we want in here? Well, we need to put in between the 2 apostrophes, we need to put our health address, and that's how we do it. So the way I do that is I stick 2 brackets in there, and what do I want in between there? I need my base address, which is my health that I already assigned to it, the base address. And what offset is my health located at? Plus 1C. So it's the same thing as this right here. It'd be the same thing if you were going to go add your address manually with the pointer. You would put in my health plus 1C and put it on a float. You see that? It's the same thing as doing that, but here it is written out right there. Now we need to tell it what value to write to it. Well, we just want to write 1000 to it, just like that. Do we need this script to do anything else? No, we don't, so we're just going to end. Now we need a way to turn it off. So what we need to do, we need it to go back to assembly, ASM, and go past our disable, re-put in the Lua, so we can turn off our timer and we can set our value back the way it needs to be. What I do is I destroy the timer. So when we click the disable, we want it to destroy the timer. The timer is no more. And what is our timer called? It's called HTimer. And what do we want it to do? We want it to destroy. Just destroy it. And if you want it to write a different value to here, you can also put that in there as well. We'll say I just for tutorial purposes, let's say I want it, when I turn it off, I want it to equal 500 and go like normal. And then we put in our ASM again, which is assembly, so it can restore the address and everything back to what it originally was. Now we need to go test it. You see, it thinks it's off right now, so let's turn it on. It goes to 1000. What does it do when I turn it off? It goes to 500. So you see our Lua script is working. Let's turn it on. Let's go take a hit, make sure we don't lose any damage. And we did it. Let's turn it off. We're going to set it at 500. Let's go take a hit. And you see it's going down. So that's how you do it with injection copies, making your on symbol. You can use global allocate, or you can use allocate memory. Then you have to register a symbol and unregister it and all that stuff. I'll put the links for how we do these things, injection copies, as well as the previous Batman Arkham Knight tutorial on how we create a thread. If you wish to go watch that, you'll understand a lot better what's going on here. But this is how to auto value write. You put it on a timer, you tell it what you want on that timer, and then we need to make sure that we turn everything off, because Lua will automatically run. Now next up, we're going to use our car. We're going to find our car health, and we're going to be using this pointer I found. And the way you find a pointer is I did it with pointer scanning. I found my car address. I go generate a pointer map. I go find my car health address about 2 more times and create different pointer maps, and then I combine them all 3 and pointer scan for this address. This being a 64-bit game, I turned this off because you know it's a 64-bit game. It may not be 32-bit aligned, and we go from there. I'm not going through that step. If you don't know how to find pointers, there's plenty of information out there, and I've got plenty of tutorials on here. Stephen Chapman's got tutorials on his site on finding pointers, so I'm going to bypass that step. Okay, so I'll be right back with you. Okay, all the enemy's been destroyed. Now what we want to do is we want to do our car. We want to find the health for the car, and what we're going to use is a pointer this time around. If you're unfamiliar with how to find pointers, I'm not going through that entire process, but when you find your health or whatever value and you want to go, what I normally do is I create 3 different pointer maps. I find my health, so to speak, and I generate a pointer map. Then I go through, you know, making sure the pointers have changed by closing down the game, bringing the game back up, or reloading the game, and then I find my health again and then generate a new pointer map. And I keep doing this till I have at least 3 pointer maps, and then when I'm ready to search for the address, click pointer scan for this address. If it's a 64-bit game, I'm going to turn that off. If it's a 32-bit game, I'm going to keep that on. And usually I'll increase these up to about 5,000, or sometimes even more. I mean, sometimes these offsets are really high. I will put that on a very high number, and sometimes I'll go up to 10, sometimes I'll go up to 15. And I do not let these continue to run. Sorry, I keep mashing buttons. I do not let these continue to run because they'll run forever, but I let it run for a little bit, about 20 minutes or 30 minutes, sometimes less, and depending on if it finds some. If it doesn't find anything, I keep increasing these till it starts finding something. Sometimes you can find pointer paths up to 15, even more different offsets it's going through, so keep that in mind. And there's plenty of videos out there on Stephen Chapman's channel, my channel, to show you how to find pointers if you want to do that. And a lot of you want to see how I'm finding a lot of these values. So what I want to do, I'm not going to go through the entire process of finding car health, depending on how fast it is, but I'm going to show you how we normally find stuff like that if you're new. So let me delete these right here. I'm not saving this, so it's not going to do anything to my table. And I'm keeping my pointer for right now. But this is how you do it when you don't know. Just pretend like this isn't here. And we know I always start on a float value when it has to do with health or some kind of stat value. I always start with health. That's usually where you're going to find them. When you don't know what the value is, you know, we just have to do an unknown value search. So I just go find something that's going to decrease my car health. We're just going to go ram it into something. Boom. Alright, now what I use is hotkeys. So what I'm going to do, go to edit settings, go over to hotkeys, and what I normally do is use increase value, decrease, changed, and unchanged, and I set all of these to different hotkeys, and you can do the same. It really helps a lot. So what I do is I go decrease value, and then I hit unchanged value, and I keep doing this over and over again until I get down to a few I can try out. Get back to the game. Still unchanged. We haven't lost any health. And decrease value. Decrease value, and we just keep doing that over and over again until we get it down to a reasonable amount. Decrease value. We're back down to 255, and what I do is I look for things that make sense, like the 52. Sometimes it could be of extremely high value, you don't know, but you know, you just want to try one thing at a time. So I'm going through all the 52s, 62s, and things like that, and I'll go through and I'll just look for all the 52s. It's possible that it came down from 100. I mean, we did hit it 4 times. And it's possible I might have missed some. And you can see there's a lot of them. A lot of them have to do with the graphical code. Some are internal checks, so you don't really know what they're being used for. So you see that there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. So we have to weed these down. So what we do to weed those down is I'll just pick about half of them, and then I'll change them to like a value like 100, and I'll freeze it and see what happens. And you see it affected every single one of these. So we know that our internal code is up here somewhere, because we were down to 50 and they all went up. So now what we do is we just do the process of elimination. We see some going down, some are still staying at 100, so I believe that the internal value is still frozen. And we go on down, you can see the pointer is A4, so we know I'm not just going to keep doing that. So I found my car health value being this right here. And then that's when I generate my pointer map. I just name it something. I always put the last 4 digits. And then I create my pointer map. I'm not doing that. But let's say we've done it 3 times and we finally found a good pointer that's staying the same. It's always finding the address, and we came up with this right here. Now we want to have it write this value over and over and over again, because we've already tried to find out what accesses the address, and we find that just about every single address that pops up, or every single opcode that pops up, is being shared with hundreds and hundreds of addresses. So either we're going to sit here and be comparing out forever, or, you know, backtracing's an ass too, or a big major pain in the ass. So we don't want to do that, but we do have another option. We can just have Lua auto write to our pointer all the time, or we could have assembly code do it with create thread, but we're not using create thread. We're going to use Lua. So what we want to do is, we found our pointer, we want to go ahead and copy all this information down to our notepad, just like so. And you remember how we did this last time. I'm going to cut this part, so I'm not going to go through the entire process, but we just copy each one of these offsets down, paste it, a bracket and a plus, and so on. So let me pause it and I'll be right back with you. Alrighty, so as you see, I went ahead and put in the rest of the offsets separated by a bracket and a plus sign. And at the very end, for Lua Script, you do not need to close off the bracket for that. And you just count your brackets: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Make sure you have an equal number on the other side: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now we're ready to write our Lua Script. Now this particular script is going to be entirely in Lua. We're not going to be adding to this one or anything like that. So what I want to do, we don't have to register any symbol because we're using a pointer path. So this is how we do this. We're going to go ahead and tell Cheat Engine that this entire script is going to be in Lua. There's something else that you really need to do. I want to thank Ben for making me aware of this also. Free ER, thank you, pal. I don't know all the ins and outs about it, and I'm sure he's happy to explain it to you, and there's plenty of information on the Cheat Engine forums. But what we want to do is put if syntax check, then return end. And basically it's checking a Boolean value. If it comes back true, it does not make any permanent changes. This just helps our Lua script work like it should, that it turns on and off like it should, and things like that. So just be aware, if you make the entire Lua script like this, you want to go ahead and add this little statement, okay? And I'm sorry I can't give much information on it. Like I said, I'm still learning myself, but I do know that this helps it work better. You pros at Lua, if you want to go ahead and give a comment on it, feel free. So we're going to go ahead and start our script. We're going to put our enable, like always. Tell Cheat Engine that we want this to be an on and off top code. And we're going to do this the exact same way we did the other. So we need to call our variable something. We're going to create the variable because we need to create our timer. We're going to name our timer something. And I'm going to name this CTimer for car. Okay, CTimer car. or you CH timer, car health timer, whatever. And I'm going to say C timer. And what do I want it to equal? Our variable to equal? We're going to have it equal the create timer. So every time we're talking about the timer now, it's going to recognize that name as the timer. We're going to go ahead and put our closed parentheses. Now we need to tell it how fast we want it to count, or how fast we want that timer to go. So our timer is called C timer. We put a dot and set capitalize interval, and I'm going to do the same amount of time. Remember, 1000 equals 1 second. What do we want that timer to control? So we want that timer, which is now called C timer, and we put on timer. Make sure we have everything correctly. Lua's very sensitive with your spelling. We want it to equal our function. And you can name your function if you want to, or you don't have to. But I'm going to put a car health. So what is this function going to do? Well, it's going to write a float value. I want it to write a float because our car is a float value. It'll say OK. Now, where's the address you want me to write this float to? Well, we're going to need to tell it. So what we do is we make our little face, our parentheses, our 2 apostrophes. There's our little face with no mouth. And what do we want in between there? We want our pointer path in there. In between there, just like that. Right after the apostrophe, we're going to put a comma, and we just tell it what float value to write. I'm going to put 2000. And do we want it to do anything else after that? No, we just want it to end. Just keep writing that every 100th of a second, 2000, to our pointer path address. Just like that. So we want a way to turn it off, so we have to put our disable. And we don't have to put all these different Lua and ASM things. We're just, this whole thing is in Lua. So we need to tell it our timer. What is it called? It's called a C timer. That's what we named our timer. What do we want it to do to that timer when we click the off? We want it to destroy it. It is no more. Do we want it to do anything else? Yeah, we do. I want to set the value back to 100, or you can put 200 or whatever value you want it to set it back to, and I just accidentally turned it on. Sorry, mother, I got these things already set on hotkeys. Sorry about that. Make sure you check for any mistakes. Looks okay. And like I said, I'm going to put these templates in there. I'm just going to name the template timer. You can name it anything you want here, but just make sure all these things are correct. There's a million different ways you can do this. Some are a lot better, and you can use if statements, you know, conditional statements and stuff, if it's greater than or equal to, but we'll get into that later. Right now we just want to learn the basic function of it, and then we can start adding on to it some other time. So let's go ahead and add that to the cheat table. I'm going to name this car health Lua. Hang on. And I'm just going to put test, and we need to go in there and check it and make sure it works. I'm going to move my car pointer down here so we know that this is in connection with this one right here, because this is the one we're testing. Okay, so what I want to do is I'm going to turn it on, and you see it turns it to 2000 right off the bat. Game is paused and everything. When I turn it off, take a look, moves it back to 200. So let's go take a look, make sure it works. We got it on, and it should still say 2000 when we bang it. Boom. Still 2000. Let's put it back, and now it's down to 200. Is it going to continue to lose health? Boom. And take a look. We're back to where we need to be, even though we're about 100 higher than what it actually was, but that's beside the point. But as you can see, we now have a pointer path that's auto writing itself and turning off like it's supposed to, and we did that using our pointer that we found. And we can also use the same exact method for when you have a register symbol. I don't have that anymore because I loaded up a new game, so in between sessions. But I will put the template down there for both. Just remember, when you're using a symbol, you need to make sure to use when you write float or integer. I'm not actually using this. This is just to show you when you set your timer and everything, and then you get to your function, you want to make sure you put your close parentheses. You want to put that in there, the 2 apostrophes, and then you want your brackets. Then you want your quotation marks. It looks like a pig, you know, like that. And then you just put whatever symbol you created in there, plus its offset, and then after the apostrophe will become a comma and whatever value you want it to write. And we've already went through that, but the syntax here needs to be correct or it will not work. Okay, so that's very important, and you need to practice this. You're going to mess up a few times. Cheating is going to maybe just continuously writing to it, or you may get errors. Just close it down, bring it back up, and try again. And this will help get you started. Please go to Stephen Chapman's channel on that page that's located in the description. Go through his Lua Tut. It's great stuff. You won't find a better one out there. Most tuts that I've went through, they pretty much think you're already a computer genius. This Stephen Chapman knows that you don't know anything about Lua. That's why he wrote that particular page, and he just walks you, hand holds you through the entire thing, step by step by step. It is great, and it will really help you in regards to this. You'll understand it a lot better. But that's all I really have time for. I appreciate you guys coming out and supporting Cheat the Game. We're still working on the website. I haven't heard anything from it right off the bat. I've been super busy. I wanted to get this out to you as quick as I could. I've been promising this, and I just haven't been able to live up to that promise in a few weeks. I wanted to get something on Lua. We want to start small and easy, get the hang of it, then we can start adding things to it and getting into more advanced things later. Like I say, I'm still learning it myself, and you're just going to have to learn it with me as I go along, alright? But that's where we're at. Come join us over at the Cheat the Game Facebook page. We have a lot of game hackers that hang out there. A lot of them a lot better than I am that can answer questions if they're able to, and we also have a Discord channel. I will put both of those links in the description for you, so come hang out there for me. Also, I want to thank my partners for Cheat the Game. They over at my Patreon. These guys donated, and basically all funds that go to the Patreon are going towards Cheat the Game, getting our website built and running. These things cost money, and that's what we're using it for. Any help you guys can throw out there will be appreciated. I'm happy to put your name down as a partner as well. It only costs $1, and I'd really love to have you as a partner. So go check it out if you get a chance to. I'd really appreciate that. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut on out of here, and I'm going to leave you with that. Please just give yourself a little patience with things like Lua. It's real finicky. If you mess something up, don't sit there and get angry. Just close it down and retry it again, and you'll start to get the feel for it, and it'll start becoming a little second nature to you. Use the templates, but try to see if you can memorize it to write it yourself. That's where you want to get to. And then later on, we'll try to get more advanced with conditions that we can put in there. Only do it if it meets a certain condition, stuff like that. We'll get into that at a later time. But thank you guys so much for coming out, and thank you all so very much for all your support. I really do appreciate it. And like I say, you can come find us over at the Facebook channel. Alright, I'm out of here, guys. You all take care. Keep on hacking. Most importantly, please enjoy yourself. That's really what it's all about. You cheat the game, fellas, because believe me, it doesn't mind cheating. You all take care now.